Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord Christ.
When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up a mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you, and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
O Adonai, Holy Trinity, in your omnipotence we find courage, in your omniscience we find wisdom, in your omnipresence we will never be alone. Amen. Amen. Be seated. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. If you want to change the church, historically speaking, all you have to do is read the book of Romans. If you want to change the Christian person, all you have to do is read the book of James. If you want to purify the Christian experience, all you have to do is read the book of Acts. If you want to change the world, you read the Sermon on the Mount. It says here that many Protestants have left it behind because it is too hard to live by. And we're going to be going through it, not just in the next few weeks, but all through Lent and our Tuesday night suppers, to talk about how these 3 chapters of the book of Matthew changed the world. And it is a powerful passage. But they changed the world not by telling us exactly what we can do, but telling us about the God who is with us, inspiring us to live according to the character in which He created us. And so today we are going to look at the character of the Sermon on the Mount. We are going to look at the character of blessedness. And finally, we are going to look at the character of Jesus, whose body we are. When you look at the Sermon on the Mount, I want you to be inspired to remember another person, another leader of Israel who went up on a mountain and heard the voice of God. You should be thinking of none other than Moses when you read this. He went up on the mountain, he began to teach his disciples, and through that, the people who were there at the bottom heard the very voice of God. Now the difference is Jesus doesn't come down with tablets of stone or the Ten Commandments or anything like that. He just comes down with himself and his disciples. That the very Word of God that you see in the Ten Commandments, that you see in the first 5 books of the Bible, is embodied in Jesus as the fulfillment of everything that they were waiting for. And He emerges and He comes down this mountain after teaching them how to live according to the law that God has given them. That He is one who speaks with authority. And the characteristics of this is it's not one authority of many, but He had an authoritative interpretation of the law. So when Jesus intensifies His living, and it's really hard, we're supposed to think that's how we should live. That is how we're supposed to characterize the sermon that Jesus gives here in Matthew's Gospel. Because Matthew is presenting Him very similarly to the character of Moses. Jesus survives a purge of all of the children, finds Himself in Egypt, comes back, finds himself in the wilderness, being tempted, comes out of that and begins to preach the words that God gave him. It's a similar second Moses passage because what they're looking for is not just Elijah, the prophet who they saw in John the Baptist there at the River Jordan, baptizing everybody and bringing them into this new kingdom of God that he was talking about. But they were also looking for the other person whose body they don't know where it is, right? Elijah was taken up in the whirlwind, but Moses was also whose bones they never found because they left him behind in the wilderness. And when it says, are you the prophet, they're talking about, are you one like Moses? And there he is, standing in their midst, on a mountain, speaking the very words of God to them. And what does he say? Blessed are you. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. What is he saying? He's saying nothing more, as Eugene Peterson interpreted it, blessed are you when you are at the end of your rope. Blessed are you when you are at the end of everything. Blessed are you who mourn, who are comforted. Blessed are the meek, those submissive in our world, right, who don't get anything because they're trampled on by society and by others. They're the great codependents of our lives, right? Caring for everybody and not anybody caring for them, right? For you will inherit the earth. Blessed are you who are persecuted for my sake, reviled on behalf of me. Blessed are the peacemakers. He's talking about blessedness, and he's not just talking about the blessedness of saying like this and go about your way and go about your life as if God's not actually there. He's talking about the blessedness that comes with righteousness that they've all been longing for. It's what the Jews called righteousness, and it is what the Greeks called eudaimonia, flourishing, or the end of our ethical lives. It's what we're living for. It's what they called happiness. It is that ache in the human heart when we ask the question of what is it that we are living for? What is all this work for? What is it that we are all doing? And you find that there's a great gaping hole there. And Jesus says that's when you find yourself flourishing in this world. The character of blessedness is nothing more than the end of our ethical existence, the reason of why we are living. We are living for the kingdom of heaven that we only find at the end of our road. You see, what Christianity does is it doesn't give you a whole bunch of things that if you just do these things, everything will be fine. If you just do these things, you're going to be great. If you just do these things, you're going to grow into this amazing human being. You're going to fulfill all your potential. Like I say, it's saying if you really live into the blessedness of this world, you're going to find yourself trampled and persecuted and hurt. That shouldn't stop you. Because the God who loves you loves those people who might be hurting you as well. And the way in which you are going to change them is by showing them the light that you have in you because of the way in which you are living. The very light of Jesus Christ. For you will fulfill and bring that character to light if you live according to how you live and struggle against those temptations that you have. Not the basic temptations and desires that all of us have, but the temptation to hide the light that we have under a bushel, right? Under a basket. That's the struggle that Jesus is trying to get us out of. So we're trying to hide because everything that he says right here in these Beatitudes, this moment of blessedness, is this place where we would want to run. We don't want to be meek. We do not want to mourn. We do not want to be persecuted. We do not want to be peacemakers. We do not want to do any of these things. Because we're afraid. Because when you take up that mantle, when you take up that role in your families, when you take up that role in your world, when you take up that role in your community, And none of us want that kind of thing. And so what Jesus is calling us to imagine is what it would be like if we lived in a world, even though it hurts, just like this. The only way to do that is with a community that is gathered around us. The only way to do that is to open our lives to the community that is here, to talk about the pain that we have endured, the things that we have suffered, and the ways in which it is hard to see the God who promises to be there, but is invisible a lot of the time. And so we talk about it. Because just as that God is the very Word of God that manifests Himself in the midst of us here at communion, in the faces of everyone here, but in the words that we use. Because we are called to bring our words to the very Word of God and find those things complementing one another, connecting to one another, and showing a light that the world does not want to know, but has seen over and over and over again. This isn't anything new, guys. That's the power of this